a comment asking how my mom rationalizes my stepdad's weird energy towards me, whether she experiences jealousy or if it's like clear if she's aware of this or whatever. I haven't talked about my mom much on here. It's much, much harder to talk about my mom than it is my stepdad. But I think I'm getting to a place where I'm more okay with that. So I'm going to use this as a chance to do that. So my family is very emotionally avoidant. We do not talk about people's feelings. We do not share our thoughts and beliefs and internal experiences really at all. So I can't know how she rationalizes really anything because we don't talk about things like that. It's all a big guessing game. But I can tell you what I do know, I guess. What I do know is that she heard him saying creepy stuff to me from 9 years old to 15 when I moved out. He did not seem to attempt to only say things to me when nobody else was around or when my mom wasn't around. No sense of trying to hide it. Frequently she was right there. Her norm was just to act like she didn't hear anything, but on a regular basis when this was happening, she must have heard it. Even now, just in the last year, I have heard of him making jokes about other children. So nothing has changed. Also, I want to mention that this isn't something special to me. I don't think he favors me in any way. He is a creep to girls and to grown women. In some of my content, I talk about emotional incest because I'm just into psychology and patterns of trauma and things like that. But I don't consider myself to be an emotional incest victim at all, despite this. There was no emotional relationship between me and my stepdad. There was absolutely nothing close to him treating me like a wife. It was purely objectifying. No closeness or special treatment or spoiling or anything like that. He moved into my house when I was 3. He knew me from birth. So in a sense, we've always had a relationship in the most literal sense, but we have never been close. I never felt like he was a parent to me in any meaningful way. I call him my stepdad because he's my mother's husband, and I grew up with his children who are not biologically related to me feeling like my siblings because they, at least some of them, lived in my house. We never had a parent type relationship other than he could tell me what to do and stuff like that. He had authority over me, but there was no connection there. It was like having a bad roommate that has authority over you. But I've never sensed any sense of jealousy from my mom at all. I think the jealousy thing is probably more common in emotional incest dynamics where the husband is treating one of the daughters as a surrogate spouse. That was never the case. But also he'll say creepy things either directly to or about waitresses or other people. And I've never really seen my mom seem to feel or express jealousy to any of that. But it's not he says stuff about my mom too, about my mom's body and stuff like that. So it's not he is preferring other people over my mom. It's just he's creepy to everybody. All females, I should say. So my mom certainly witnessed it. I only ever tried to talk to her about this once. So he started chronically making comments like this to me when I was about 9. And I think for a year, maybe year and a half, 2 years, I really tried to get him to stop by controlling myself. I changed the way that I dressed. I stopped jumping on trampolines. I just was very modest in what I wore, very careful about activities walking down the stairs, jumping on trampolines, bending over. It's very hyper independent, kind of lost child stereotype. I was going to find some way to manage my shit myself. But then also what played into that was he would tell me that the reason he said something was my clothes or was my behavior. He would say things like if he had commented on my chest and I had a logo across the chest, if I made a disgusted face, or I had a sister who was and is much more spicy than I have ever managed to be, she would call him out for being a creep. His response would be, you can't expect me to not say something when you're wearing a shirt like that like draws your attention right there. So as a 9-year-old who was living in this reality, I didn't know that that was a bullshit excuse for his creepy behavior. I took that at face value and thought, if I don't want men to be creepy to me, I have to wear shirts that don't have any design on the chest area. Same thing with pants. When he had first started this, I had a pair of like little girls jeans that had, I don't remember if it was like a flower or a heart or something, like embroidered on the back pocket of the jeans. And I really loved them, by the way. They're like my favorite pair of jeans. They're very cute. But he said that like he couldn't not comment on my butt if I had some flower or whatever on the back pocket. And so I stopped wearing those jeans. But then I don't remember if they were like Levi's or one of the brands of jeans that I had multiple pairs of jeans from, had very subtle, but it was like threading on the back pocket that kind of, like any jeans from that brand would have this like V shape on the back pocket. But it wasn't embroidery, it was just stitching. And it wasn't even like really high contrast stitching. I don't know. No reasonable person would have even thought twice about the pockets on those jeans, but he would even use that as a, well, there's something on the pocket there, I can't help but notice. So I stopped wearing those. Like, I started wearing only unisex style t-shirts and only ones that were like a size too big. Just all these different things I tried doing, and I got to a point after maybe a year and a half of like kind of trying all the things where I realized this isn't stopping it. It like occurred to me that all of these excuses he's given me, I have like absorbed these as like rules to follow to avoid this mistreatment, and it's not working. He's still mistreating me. And I don't know if I would have called it mistreatment at the time, but whatever. And so I just had this epiphany that like, this isn't gonna stop. This isn't within my control to stop this. I need help to get this to stop. And I remember there being, I think probably a couple week period, and I was probably 10, maybe pushing 11 at this point, where I just wrestled with that of, how do I say something? How do I tell my mom that I need him to stop talking to me like this? Because I don't really even know why, to be honest with you, but by that age, I knew that we didn't talk about things like that. I knew that was risky emotionally. It felt very, very dangerous to think about trying to have a conversation with her about that. It felt like, you can't do that. Again, I don't really know why. I assume she had lost my trust very early in childhood. But despite that feeling impossible, it felt really impossible to continue living with somebody who talked to me like this as well. And so I just remember like laying in bed at night and going like, I can't tolerate him continuing to talk to me like this, and I can't say something. Like, both felt completely impossible. And I never really actually chose how to handle it, but for some reason one day it was just me and my mom in her car going somewhere, and I don't know if he had said something that day that had really got to me or what it was, but it was just the last straw, and I kind of, I think, had a panic attack. I remember like sobbing and like feeling like I couldn't breathe and like I was barely able to get my words out. I was so incredibly upset, but it was like, my default was to swallow everything, was to bottle everything up. And I'm not somebody who ever explodes with anger, but I would periodically explode with panic instead. And I think this was really the first time that I consciously remember like the anxiety exploding. And I remember feeling so crazy that I was like freaking out so bad. And I felt so terrified because it was so impulsive. It really wasn't something I chose to do. It was just, I just did not have the strength to not lose it. And I felt so crazy. And part of what made me feel even crazier was she didn't seem affected by how much I was freaking out. She almost seemed calm, but not like genuinely calm in like a warm way. My guess now is that she was like fawning or freezing. Like, I don't know exactly what she said. Of course, this was many, many years ago now, but she definitely said something very close to, he's known you since you were a baby. You are growing up, and he notices that, and like, he's just noticing that you're growing up. Like, that's all it is. Where I'm at with that is, if she really believed that, if she really believed that he was just noticing that I was getting older, and that there really was nothing weird going on there. If the child is having a panic attack, we need to care that the child is that distressed, even if there is zero negative intent on the adult's part. But also, I don't think children have panic attacks over situations where they are not being mistreated. I think, to a large degree, the level of distress that I was experiencing speaks to the trauma itself. But yeah, I walked away from that conversation feeling like I'm crazy, because I assumed, partly because I felt crazy, because I don't like being emotional and I try to contain my emotions, and they had all just spewed out all over. And even in that really raw moment, there was like zero attunement. I perceived zero concern. It just felt like, it didn't feel super judgmental. I didn't feel like, what is wrong with you? It just felt like, no, there's definitely not anything going on. Like, you're just reading something into this. So I don't know if that is how she really does rationalize it. Does she rationalize that a 40-plus-year-old man telling a 9-year-old that she has such shapely hips on a regular basis, or things like that, is not creepy? And that really is just him noticing that she is getting older? Commenting about how, wow, I've never seen a 13-year-old with a C cup before. Things like that. Like, you really don't think that's fucking creepy? Nothing ever happened after that. Nothing ever changed. I have no clue if she ever talked to him about that. My guess would be no. I think that they have very limited communication about anything of importance within their marriage. After that, I saw no change in, like, if he was making comments to me in front of her, she still didn't say anything. So I survived as best as I could for a few more years, until I was 15, and then it like finally occurred to me that I could try to move in with my dad. But yeah, and so I got out of there. Even at like 15, I know that she knew I didn't like being around him. I knew that like, she would sometimes say like, oh, he's not here, or things like that, like if I was considering going to her house. But I don't know how much she equates my dislike of him as being this sexual stuff versus how much of it is just like the fact that he's like a cranky jerk. It's a really long video to just say, I don't know, but I guess I kind of just wanted to use this as a processing and owning my truth thing too.